Panther people, what up? Carolina Panthers got themselves a new president of football operations and general manager, but is he really new? And are we just destined to fail again? Going on, you watch Panthers, supposed to Phil Perkins. Thanks for joining. I'm going to make it a quick one. We got breaking news. Dan Morgan, former Carolina Panthers linebacker, one of the swaggiest linebackers in the early 2000s, has been named as the Panthers' new president of football operations, as well as the other half of the general manager position. Obviously, we all know Dan Morgan. He was Scott Fitterer's best friend. He was his right-hand man, and now he is going to be heading some of the decisions. So, something that we talked about before, Edgar Salmingo Jr., make sure to check out that video. When he talked about all the GMs that the Panthers have been interviewing, Dan Morgan looks like he's going to be the muscle, and the other guy is going to be the brain. Brain and the brawn. He's still jacked. That is one of my prerequisites. We remember Scott Fitterer got a little soft after a couple years. He did play baseball. I think he was drafted by the Blue Jays. But Dan Morgan looks like he can still clean 225. Let's just say that, all right? So he is going to be the scouting brain he's going to be the scouting half of the general manager brain. So he's going to be, going to all the bowl games. He knows all the players. He knows the agents. He knows how a football locker room should work, how it should operate, the mini ecosystem that is an NFL locker room. He's handling that. He's getting the characters, he's getting the quality. And the things that you can't really put into numbers, the guys that have it. So that's what he's going to be looking at. He's also going to be the head of football operations. That's a position we did not have before. So before, it looked like the head of football operations was Dave Tepper. Dave Tepper would show me like, hey, how is my football team operating? And they would tell me like, I don't like that. And then they would adjust. So it looks like David Tepper is going to be talking to him. Everyone's going to be going through Dan Morgan. I'm going to talk about my issues with some of that. But that's going to be the case. So he's going to be the football guy. Dave Tepper, hopefully that means that he just steps back and the only person he talks to is Dan Morgan. And then Dan Morgan then decides if he wants to tell the other guys, his underlings, that. So, again, he is the brawn half of the GM position, and the Panthers are still looking at the analytical side, the quantitative part of the general manager position. That's why they're talking to the Alec Halby guy out of the Philadelphia Eagles. So he's a big stats guy, Harvard grad, I believe. And so that's who they're going to be looking at right now. And so they're looking at him. Who else have they been talking to? They talked to that dude. Who else did they interview? I don't know. It's a Hallaby guy and also Chris Tillis, I believe. Joe Person's going to say the name here. Okay, Brant Tillis. So as he mentioned before, this is what his tweet is saying. Brant Tillis, a candidate to run the cap/business side. So these are the people who are going to be, they're the Samir Suleimans of it all. I swear, if they bring Samir Suleiman back, and then this is basically just, if you know David Tepper and he likes you, he likes the way you operate, he likes the way you eat, then you got the job. I'm not a fan of it. But these are the analytics people. These are the ones who are going to be telling Dan Morgan, hey, you know what? That guy from Montana State, heck of a worker, son of a coach, but he's really slow. And he has really bad agility. And even his game speed is really slow. So we're not going to get that guy. So maybe they make decisions like that, okay? So that's not bad. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that dynamic, trying something a little bit new here, kind of getting the GM position, splitting it in half. We read that David Tepper is enamored with the way the Philadelphia Eagles operate. So maybe this Hallaby guy is someone who's going to work well with Dan Morgan. We'll see, again, if he's hired. I'm sure that's going to happen at some point this week. Things I don't like. What they talked about on the Panthers website, they have the statement here, and they talk about, what do they say? Well, it's kind of pristine. Dan has a thorough knowledge of the football personnel and a clear vision to take us where we all want to go. Okay. Everyone watches the NFL. If you're a GM, if you're a scouting guy in the NFL, you're watching everybody. Is it really that hard to understand? Like, everyone's talking about it. All the analysts are talking about it. All the ex-GMs on national TV networks are talking about it. The Panthers need more skill position players. They need better interior line depth. They know that already. So why does it matter that he knows this already? Who cares? Who cares? Like that he knows Bryce Young, that he knows, the situation with Brian Burns. He knows the situation for Derek Brown. He knows the situation with Adam Thielen that he might not want to be on the team. Who cares? You can bring anybody into that. It doesn't matter. It's just it's a business. I don't care. But is he good enough? I don't care that he knows people. You can find people out pretty quickly. All right. took Dan Campbell 3 years to turn the Detroit Lions around. They tried for decades and decades. He didn't know these people beforehand. They didn't know him. He turned it around. I just want the right guy. I just want the right guy for the job. That's it. If he proves that he's going to be the right guy and he has a plan, and his plan sounded better than the other guy's plans, then hire him. I don't care about the fuzzy stuff, okay? If it was the fuzzy stuff, they would have kept Frank Reich because he was the first quarterback to ever throw a touchdown pass to the Carolina Panthers. But we realize it's a business. So I hope that this works out. That was my beef. My beef is also, with the Athletic article from Diana Rossini and Joe Person saying that they're basically snitches. They're snitches on the executive side with the Panthers, going to David Tepper, complaining to David Tepper, creating this toxic atmosphere. I swear it better have been Scott Fitterer and not Dan Morgan. And Dan Morgan better not know of anything about that, because I just don't want Dan Morgan to just be, David Tepper with hair. I don't want that. I don't want it. I want him to be a football guy. I want him to be a football guy that hates billionaires. And I hope the fact that when they gave him the president of football operations title, that he's like, thank goodness I don't have to, I don't have to listen to this billionaire tell me how to run football operations. I'm just going to do it myself. I'm going to let him know what's going down. If he has requests, he can talk to me, but I don't need this guy telling me how to run football operations. That's my job. I need him to do that. I don't need him to be a yes man. We do understand that Scott Fitterer was a consensus builder, meaning that he got what the owner wanted, he got what the coach wanted, he got what the other scouting people wanted, and found a middle ground. I hope Dan Morgan just works with the other half of the GM position, whoever it is Tillis Cat or Hallaby Cat, and they work together. And then he sticks to his guns. He knows how to build something. Look at what the Detroit Lions did. They stuck with the kneecap biting and the ankle breaking. They stuck with that from day one of Dan Campbell's tenure. And look where they are now. They're going to the NFC Championship game, won 2 back-to-back home playoff games for the first time in like a gajillion years. They stuck to the plan. They stuck to the identity. As long as Dan Morgan has that identity in his brain, then okay. I don't want him to be David Tepper Jr. I don't need that. I don't need to see that. Another thing I was wondering, because obviously we talked about alignment. We talk about alignment all the time. And who is this guy aligned with in terms of a head coaching position? How you can predict who the next head coach will be for the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, he's been with the Carolina Panthers. He's been with the Seattle Seahawks with Scott Fitterer. And he's been with the Buffalo Bills. And so what happens here? What does this all mean? So in terms of indicating who the head coach could be. Now, Mike K tweeted this January 7th. Panthers assistant general manager Dan Morgan greeting Bucks offensive coordinator Dave Canales during pregame warmups. They were in Seattle together. So something Mike said then tweeted 18 minutes ago. Keep in mind Monday. Okay. And so Mike Hale said the new title seemingly implies a new structure to the front office. If the Panthers were to pair Morgan with the assistant GM with a significant operations experience, a 2-pronged promotion would make sense. Right, so that's the only real connection, unless they want to hire Pete Carroll as a new head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Canales, we saw what he did with Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker playing the way that some of us thought he could play with the Panthers when he was here for like a cup of coffee. Canales could be interesting. I don't know much about him. He's a young guy. He was under the category of dudes who we thought may have been a little bit too early for them in terms of being a head coach. I was thinking more so like the Brian Callahans, the Ben Johnsons, of course. It looks like they're going to go that route. It doesn't look like a Jim Harbaugh and Bill Belichick. I don't really want Bill Belichick, unfortunately. I don't think a Jim Harbaugh is going to jive. Unless, you know what though, I think Jim Harbaugh and Dan Morgan could have a bench off though. I think they can kind of work out. I could see them aligning Jim Harbaugh and Dan Morgan. Just throwing it out there. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know what this means. Would a Dave Canales, a guy who I didn't even know about until 2 weeks ago, being the new head coach of the Carolina Panthers, would that excite me? Maybe. Would that bring Mike Evans to the Panthers? I don't know. But that's very interesting. That would be very interesting indeed. Do I still believe that Ben Johnson could be the new head coach of the Carolina Panthers potentially? But again, you also have a linebacker as assistant as a half of the GM, Mike McDonald, defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, who's been shutting down all these massive high-flying offenses and could potentially do it next week in the AFC Championship game. Could he be the next head coach of the Carolina Panthers? A linebacker hiring a guy who looks like he's Teddy Bruschi Jr. as a new head coach of the Carolina Panthers? Maybe it's a change of approach. Dan Morgan, I don't know, bring it rough and tumble, kind of narrative-wise, making it, we're going back to our roots. We tried the offensive thing. It didn't work out. We're going to go defense again. I don't know. Maybe that can happen. So let me know what you guys think. Dan Morgan, he's been promoted. He's still in the building. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Does it freak you out? Do you think it's a good move because you get another Panther who understands the culture, the DNA, the keep pounding DNA? Do you like it? Let me know in the comments below. See you guys soon.